chicken gizzards, and iguana. The baleada. Americans are too afraid of being dirty. Like if your cookie falls on the floor, just eat it. It's fine. It might have a little bit of dirt on it, but that won't kill you. But also just that the church is true, and that we have to, in all aspects of our lives, we have to be constantly striving for improvement. That if you ever get lazy and become idle, that's why the Book of Mormon warns us against idleness so much. That if you ever become idle and stop striving for improvement, I believe you'll end up going backwards. You'll get stuck. So whether that's school or your job or your gospel or creating better relationships with the people in your lives, we need to be constantly striving for improvement, because that's why God sent us here. Probably just that first month of my mission. I got to Honduras mid-December, so right before Christmas, and just adjusting to the food and the culture and feeling so frustrated that I couldn't really express myself very well to my companion and express my ideas. I felt like I had all these ideas of what we could do and how we could find people and help the ward, and I didn't know how to say it. Like, how to say, what if we did this? And just the food, I was sick for like a month. I'm not super sick, but I wasn't feeling very good for like the first whole month. So that was probably the hardest thing, just adjusting that first month. Once I got adjusted and just accepted, like, this is how life is now, I was usually pretty okay. There was this one family I met in Tela, my second area. They're one of my favorite families I ever met on my mission, La Familia Sosa. And we were teaching them, and it was the husband and the wife, and they had 3 daughters. And they were interested in the gospel. They had family members who were members, and they had been reading the Book of Mormon and trying to keep most of their commitments. They were pretty like a golden family. But there was just something holding them back. And one day we brought the Relief Society president with us to teach them a lesson and just have her help us. And I remember her talking, she spoke specifically to the husband. And she spoke about how her husband is not a member of the church. And she spoke about how she loves him and how he's a wonderful man and he's a wonderful father to their children. But that she's not sealed in the temple to him, and that he doesn't have the priesthood. And she just spoke to Hermano Walter and just said, like, you have this opportunity to become a member of this church and receive the priesthood. And you have an opportunity to be able to bless your family and bless others through that. And that our Heavenly Father wants to bless you and your family. And I just remember the whole room was crying, and I just felt the Spirit so strongly. And I just remember thinking in that moment how grateful I am that I have a father who holds the priesthood, and that I have a family who are members, and that I'm just so grateful for my Heavenly Father and for this gospel, and just realizing that this is the reason I came on a mission. So that this family, who's now sealed in the temple, and they all hold church callings, and their daughter's working on her personal progress, and that this gospel can bless their lives and bless the Relief Society president's life. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously you grow in the gospel, you grow in your testimony. And I think I learned to be more patient and to have more charity for people, and not, sometimes we use charity as a way to mean helping people or like giving charity, like donating money or something. And if you look in the Bible dictionary, it specifically says that that's not what charity means, that charity is the highest, purest, most Christ-like form of love. And I feel like that's really something I learned and something I grew in, was learning to, I mean, I'm still working on it, but learning to see people the way God sees them, and learning to just love all people and try and get along with them. And and stop judging people so much, just be more patient and kind with them. I remember one time in Tela, we were walking down the street I was walking with my companion, and there was a woman sitting on her front porch playing with her baby. And so we went up to start talking to her, and we asked her how old her baby was, and we asked her if we could teach her, and she was like, well, not now, but you can come back another day. So we left her a Plan of Salvation pamphlet and made an appointment to come back, and left. And then the day of the appointment came, and we were on divisions with the sister training leaders. So I went back to the appointment with one of the sister training leaders, and the woman wasn't home. So we left and we went to our backup plan. And then it was like a week later, I was walking with my companion, and we passed that house. And I said, Hermana, it is too often that we go to a house, we make an appointment to come back, we go back, they're not home, and then we never end up going back. We just get busy doing other things. Like, we need to stop doing that. We need to go back until we're sure that they're not going to get baptized and that this won't progress. So she was like, okay, let's go back. So we walked up to the house. The woman wasn't there, but her brother-in-law was. And my wonderful companion was like, well, sir, can we teach you? So we went inside and we taught him and his mother. And his mother was not interested at all, but he was. So we went back and we taught him, and we challenged him to be baptized, and he accepted. And he was the absolute most prepared person I have ever met. He had lived with his aunt in Minnesota for a while. He lived with her for like a year, and she's a member of the church. And the missionaries in Minnesota ate at their house once a week for the entire year. And apparently they never talked to him. They never asked if he wanted to take the lessons. They never asked if he wanted to get baptized. They never asked him if he was a member. And we were talking about him once, and he was just like, they must have assumed I was already a member or something, because the missionaries in Minnesota never once asked to talk to me. So he, like, before we even met him, he was already interested in the gospel. And so he got baptized super quickly, and now he's in the branch presidency and is just doing so well. And it was just amazing to see this passion he has for the gospel and how happy it makes him. And even though sometimes it's hard because his family aren't members, his mother and his brother, but just to see the faith that he had and the determination he had that he was going to get baptized even if his family didn't like it. There was one time in Olanchito, my first area, and I was there with my first companion, and I met this boy who was probably 14 or 15. And we started teaching him at the pulperia that he worked at. A pulperia is like a little store that people will run like out of their house or something. So you can go buy water or candy or diapers or rice or whatever. So we started teaching him, and he seemed really interested. He said that he didn't live with his parents at the time, but he said, when I did live with my parents, I've seen this book before. I think my parents were members of your church. And I remember we left him, I think we wanted him to read 2 Nephi 31. And he read like 31 and 32. He read like 4 or 5 chapters, and it was amazing. And then school started again. And he's only 15, so he goes back to school. And we never saw him again. We could never find him. He was just always busy doing something. And my companion left. I got a new companion. It was like, and I told her, like, there's this kid we can go try and find, but we haven't seen him in like a month or 2. And I remember one day praying in my personal prayer at night, like, Heavenly Father, I just want to find him. Even if we can't really teach him, I just want to find him again and like figure out what's going on. And that day we found him. He just happened to be home. And we talked to him and we taught him one lesson, and then we couldn't find him again after that. It was just that one day. But I just remember feeling such a strong testimony of like, God heard my prayer. Like, I asked for us to find that boy, and we found him. And then that was probably like February or March that happened. I left in April, so it's probably March. I left in April, and then I got an email from my companion in June or July saying that he was getting baptized, that she and her new companion had continued teaching him. And so I was just so grateful for that prayer, that God had given us that one extra day of contact just to keep us in his mind and like keep the progress going.